Has there ever been a time in your life when you felt completely discouraged, like letting go, like giving up? Well, it's fascinating to watch prophets in the scriptures go through some of those situations and see how they navigate that troubled time and how God responds. One of my favorite examples of this is Elijah. This is one of the greatest prophets of all time. He, in 1 Kings chapter 17, he caused a famine to come. He was miraculously fed by the ravens. He goes to Zarephath and miraculously multiplies the cruse of oil and the barrel of meal for the widow. He raises her son from the dead. In the next chapter, chapter 18 of 1 Kings, he has on the top of Mount Carmel that giant duel, if you will, with the priests of Baal, 450 of them, where God lights his offering on the altar on fire after it had been drenched in water. So here's Elijah at what you would consider the peak of his success as a prophet. He's doing exactly what God has asked him to do and seems to be doing it well. And yet opposition always seems to be a present part of our mortal life, even for the prophets. Maybe we should say especially for the prophets, because it seems that they face more than their fair share of opposition and setbacks and trials. And in this case, chapter 19 opens with Jezebel, the queen up north in the kingdom of Israel. She's Ahab's wife. She promises that by that time, the next day, she will have killed or destroyed Elijah. And it says, when he saw that, he arose and went for his life and came to Beersheba, which belongeth to Judah, and left his servant there. So he leaves the country of Israel and goes south to the kingdom of Judah at Beersheba and leaves his servant. And then it says, but he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a juniper tree. So here we are in a beautiful wilderness area that doesn't look anything like Beersheba, where Elijah was with his servant on that occasion. But it's apart, it's away from society. And it says that he, verse 5, lay and slept under a juniper tree. This is not a juniper tree, but you get the idea. Here's this prophet who is completely dejected. He feels like a failure, feels like he's let the Lord down. And listen to this next part. He requested for himself that he might die and said, it is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. So he's hit rock bottom. And this is, remember, after all these incredible miracles that he has just performed in the previous 2 chapters to this one. And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him and said, arise and eat. You know, sometimes angels come from heaven, and sometimes God sends us angels from earth, loved ones who are inspired to bring something when we're feeling down or to give us that encouragement. I love this. Arise and eat. So Elijah does that, and he looked, and behold, there was a cake baken on the coals and a cruse of water at his head, and he did eat and drink and laid him down again. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time and touched him and said, arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. So after the angel had given him that food and water 2 different times, Elijah then left, and that sustained him for the next 40 days as he went clear down to Mount Horeb, which is the same place where Moses received the 10 Commandments. And there he dwelled in a cave, and the voice of the Lord came to him. This is what he heard. Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and brake in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still, small voice. Often in life, what happens is we get discouraged, we get depressed, we get dejected, and feel like a failure, and feel like giving up. And so we then look for God in miraculous big things, the winds, the earthquake, the fires of life. When in reality, Elijah shows us what we'll call here an Elijah moment, that often it's in those still small voice experiences of life where you might be completely overwhelmed and all of a sudden you sense this internal strength, this small voice that says, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. Move forward with faith that seems to make much bigger difference than if a big earthquake came through and changed everything. I've had many Elijah moments in life, but one that left a very deep impression upon me occurred as a young missionary for our church. I left the comforts of home at age 19 and went down to Brazil. I had 2 years of living in conditions that I had never seen before, staring me in the face. My very first night out in my mission field, and it was miserable. I saw all kinds of poverty, all kinds of difficult things, and couldn't sleep that night. And I had this feeling of, I can't do this. What have I gotten myself into? This is impossible. The next day, my missionary companion, Elder Pratt, he had to take care of some things at our church house. So Elder Pratt told me I could go and study the language for an hour or two. But instead, I went into the chapel and I sat down at the piano and I poured my heart out to God by playing song after song after song. I need thee every hour. I know that my Redeemer lives. Oh, my Father, song after song, abide with me. Abide with me, 'tis eventide. Be still, my soul. And through that process, as I was pouring my heart out, just weeping over that piano, thinking, I can't do this. God, fix this. And in those quiet songs that I was playing there and singing to the best of my ability in Portuguese as well as in English, God spoke to my soul in a still small voice. He didn't take away any of the problems. He didn't all of a sudden make the mission easy. But what he did was he propped up that little missionary who felt like a failure and felt insignificant and felt incapable of doing what needed to be done. And that made all the difference. So perhaps we don't just look for God in the really big, miraculous, outward manifestation sorts of signs, but we find opportunities to be still and to quietly reflect on His goodness, His mercy, and His grace. And it's there in that still small voice, in those quiet times, when perhaps we'll be able to feel Him even more powerfully than in the mighty winds, and get that reassurance that you are on the Lord's errand. He does love you. He is aware of you. He sees you. He knows what you need. And as you turn to Him and continue to rely on Him, He will help you move forward in doing the things that He would have you do. Know that you're loved.